Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be going over the Orioles' 6-2 loss to the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 2 of this three-game series. And not only is tomorrow going to be a rubber match, it is going to be the final home game of the year for the Orioles. So hopefully we'll see Birdland show up and show out tomorrow for these Orioles. Obviously, looking back on the year, objectively speaking, this team did underperform by quite a lot. They were supposed to be a team that made the playoffs, and obviously at this point we, didn't make the playoffs. But it would be really cool to see the Orioles and the Orioles fans show up tomorrow for the final home game of the year. And again, last home game of the season, last home series of the year. Winner takes the series tomorrow, so it'd be nice to see the Orioles get a series win in the last home series of the year and also in the last home game of the year for the Orioles. So hopefully, again, fans show up tomorrow. That would be really, really, really cool to see because they have had a little bit of an attendance problem throughout the year. So hopefully tomorrow we can see a lot of Birdland showing up for the final home game of the year. But also in this episode, we are going to be going over and talking about some more Ravens updates, including some potentially really, really sad news talking about Nnamdi Madubuike. You really got to feel for him, man. There's a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about this neck injury being something extremely serious. And I talked about it last week whenever this thing started to come up, whenever this injury started to come up. I talked about how this is something that isn't going to be like a 1 to 2 week thing. Like this is something that could seriously impact his career. And there's also a lot of other injuries that we need to go over today. The Ravens practice today wasn't just a walkthrough, so it wasn't a full hardcore injury, but there was some people out today due to some ankle injuries, and let's just say our D line is not looking too great. Guys like Calvin Noy, Travis Jones, Madubuike, all of those guys did not practice today, so a lot of these defensive guys, a lot of these guys on the defensive line were out today, and again, that was a big problem that's been a big problem with the Ravens all season, but especially in the game against Detroit, we just couldn't get any pressure on Jared Goff, and obviously it led to the Lions just absolutely shredding through us with the run because we don't have any D-line right now to effectively stop the run or get to the quarterback. So we'll go over some more injury updates regarding the Ravens in just a second. We have some positive news about Isaiah Likely, but we are going to talk about about Nnamdi Madubuike, and it is going to be quite sad. But let's just go over this Orioles game first. So going over this Orioles game, the Orioles lose 6-2 over the Tampa Bay Rays. The Orioles record now sits at 74-84, back to being 10 games below 500 with 4 games left to play. Obviously the game tomorrow and then the final 3-game series against the Yankees this weekend. Going over the offense, Jackson Holliday was supposed to be in the lineup today, but his knee flared up earlier, so we did take him out. So Jackson Holliday did not end up playing today. So Dylan Beavers got the start got the leadoff spot. So Dylan Beavers went 1 for 4 with a run scored. Jordan Westberg went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Shout out to Jordan Westberg. He brought in both of the runs scored by the Orioles in this game. So nice to see Jordan play well. Gunnar Henderson 0 for 4. Tyler O'Neill 1 for 3. Samuel Basayo 0 for 3. Adley Rutschman 0 for 3. Ryan Mountcastle 0 for 4. Colton Cowser 0 for 1 with a run scored and 2 walks, and then Jeremiah Jackson 0 for 2 with a walk. So not great by the Orioles. The Orioles were getting no hit through the first 6 innings of the game, and they didn't get their first hit until the 7th inning where Tyler O'Neill was able to get a hit. But again, 3 total hits for the Orioles, scored 2 runs on those 3 hits. The only 3 hits in the game came by Dylan Beavers, Jordan Westberg, and Tyler O'Neill. They scored 2 runs, 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. This was just one of those games where the Orioles just couldn't really get anybody on base, and the pitching also wasn't great either, but just couldn't really get anybody on base. Shout out to Jordan for bringing in the 2 runs, but they still do lose this game 6-2. Going over the pitching, Tyler Wells gets his first loss of the season. Again, he only has a few starts on the year, but Tyler Wells gets his first loss of the year, only gets through 4 innings, gives up 7 hits, 1 walk, and 3 runs and a homer, and also has 4 strikeouts across those 4 innings, a 79 pitch count across 4 innings. Not great. Did get worked quite a bit. Did give up 3 runs in 4 innings. Not the greatest stat or the greatest start in general by Tyler O'Neill, and he does get the loss. Dietrich ends 2 innings, 2 hits, 2 hits, 1 run that wasn't earned, and had 3 strikeouts for So Dietrich Enns did pretty solid in those 2 innings, and then Castillo came in, gave up a run, and then Yennier Cano, 1.1 innings, didn't give up a run. So overall, the bullpen did okay, but Tyler Wells didn't have the greatest start. We did have to go to our bullpen quite early in this game. But so did the Rays. They were kind of doing a bullpen game in today's game. But overall, not the greatest day by the Orioles pitching. The bullpen did its thing. It did whatever. The starters wasn't great. But the hitting also wasn't really great. Really, the hitting was one of the main things in this game. Again, only 2 runs scored. Only got on base. Got on base 8 total times because they had 5 walks and 3 hits. But still not just being able to bring in those runs at a consistent pace. But again, the pitching, Tyler Wells didn't really do great. 4 innings, 3 runs, and then the bullpen gave up the other 3. So overall, not the greatest game by the Orioles. Again, the series is tied 1-1 right now. The Orioles won yesterday 6-0. They lose today 6-2. And then tomorrow is the final game at home for the Orioles, and then there will be one more series left after tomorrow. But tomorrow, once again, is the final game in Camden Yards, so hopefully the Orioles can do their fans right, and hopefully they can end their homestand and or at least end their time at Camden Yards off on a good note. But tomorrow is going to be Drew Rasmussen versus Cade Povich. This is going to be Cade Povich's last start of the year. Obviously, this was Tyler Wells' last start of the year, and in his 4 starts since returning, he played very solid and under 3 ERA, looked very good. Someone who I think is going to be at the back end of the rotation next year for the Orioles. But going over for tomorrow's game, again, Cade Povich versus Drew Rasmussen. It is going to be Cade Povich's last start of the season tomorrow, so hopefully he can end it off on a good note. But now switching up sports here and going over to the injury report for the Baltimore Ravens. So obviously they had the game on Monday for Monday Night Football. They had the day off yesterday, and then they were back today. Today was a limited walkthrough, so it wasn't a full-blown practice. It was just a walkthrough. Just had players out there running around doing, light little workouts, light little jogs, and nothing too crazy or serious at practice today. Practice is really going to ramp up tomorrow and Friday, but today was just a walkthrough. Because also the weather was not great in Baltimore today either. So going over the injury report, there are 7 players here on the injury report. A couple of these names are obvious. We've seen these names here. We understand that they're hurt, and then we have a couple of new names as well. One of the new names being Travis Jones, who one of our D tackles, somebody who had a lot of expectations going into the year. He did suffer a knee injury during that game against the Lions. He suffered an injury, he came back off, then he came back on, then he had to get taken back off again. So I don't know how long this knee injury is going to be. I don't know if this is super serious. I don't think this is a super serious knee injury for Travis Jones. I would expect him to probably not play on Sunday, just because it kind of seemed a little bit serious, but nothing that's going to be like IR worthy. But Travis Jones did not play today because of the knee injury. Isaiah Likely, next person on the injury report, did get in a limited practice today on Wednesday, but in a interview with John Harbaugh today, because they had the media press conference today with John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, and mainly what Lamar said was just kind of talking about how they got to execute, they got to score more points, they got to be perfect, they just got to play better as a team and just take it week by week. John Harbaugh, touched on kind of the same things, but felt a little annoyed because, again, there is not, I wouldn't say panic within the Ravens organization, but there is a sense of urgency to want to win some of these games here. And they're facing a very tough opponent on the road in Kansas City where Lamar's never won. So there's a lot to look forward to in this game, obviously. But Isaiah Likely is somebody that's going to be really looking forward to playing on Sunday, because we got a report from John Harbaugh that if everything goes the way that it's supposed to this week, and if everything looks good with Isaiah Likely, then he will be ready to go this Sunday and make his season debut Week 4 against Kansas City. So it's going to make the offense even better. Obviously, you're going to have that 2 tight end duo of Andrews and Likely, along with all of the other pass catchers, obviously Lamar and Derrick Henry as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see this offense. It's going to get even better than what it already is. So that is always good news. And that's definitely the best news of this whole thing, is that Isaiah Likely is most likely going to be playing on Sunday. Next up, we're going to skip Matabike for a second. We'll go over him at the end. But Pat Ricard had a DMP today because of the calf injury. Again, this is something that I think a lot of people expected to not be the craziest injury. I think people expect this to not be a very big injury, but it's ended up being a pretty serious injury, obviously, because it is not looking very, very likely that Pat Ricard is going to be playing on Sunday, and I don't really know when he's going to come back. He suffered the injury like halfway through August, and we decided not to put him on injury reserve, and he's pretty much been a DNP at every single practice so far this season, so hopefully Ricard can come back as soon as possible. It's not looking like he's going to come back on Sunday, but hopefully next week as we prepare for Houston, he comes back. But Pat Ricard is somebody who I think with the way that this offensive line has been playing, getting Pat Ricard back is going to be a very, very big thing because, again, he's a fullback, acts as an extra offensive lineman. He's been doing that for years with the Ravens, and he's someone who's comfortable with the system. So getting Pat Ricard back, I think, is a way bigger thing than I think a lot of people think that it is. So hopefully Pat comes back as soon as possible. Ronnie Stanley did show up on the injury report. This is a new injury. Ronnie is suffering an ankle injury. There is reports saying that it's not anything too serious. They're just being cautious with it. Obviously, Ronnie Stanley is a very decorated, left tackle. But Ronnie Stanley, it is looking like Ronnie Stanley should be ready to go for Sunday, but he is questionable right now. Well, he does have. He didn't play. He didn't play today because of an ankle injury, but it's not considered to be anything too serious. So hopefully he'll be good to go. Calvin Noy, we understand. We understand Calvin Noy is going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks with this hamstring injury. Still did not practice today. And then Broderick Washington, who is another D tackle alongside Madubuike, alongside Travis Jones, who is on this injury report because of an ankle injury. Again, not something to be too scared of, and not something that's supposed to be severe. So hopefully he plays on Sunday, but who knows the exact extent right now. It's hard to kind of predict who's going to play or not because, it is only the first day of practice. And it was a walkthrough. It wasn't even a full-blown practice, so a lot of these guys might be sitting. Not a lot of them, but a couple of them might have been sitting just due to precautionary reasons. But going back over to Nnamdi Madubuike, he is dealing with a neck injury, as we know. And a couple of weeks ago when this kind of popped up and he was going to be inactive for this Lions game, we understood that it was going to be, important to get him back as soon as possible. But, when he first appeared on the IR or on the injury report, it wasn't really necessarily too crazy at the time. Like when he first popped up, we were like, okay, maybe it's like a stiff neck, maybe he'll be good to go. But as time has gone on, and as we've gotten more information over time, and even I talked about this last week when we were going over like the second to last or the last injury report going into the Lions game, that there was reports that this injury that Madubuike has could potentially be something a lot more serious than what we thought. People thought maybe it was a stiff neck, maybe it wasn't something, maybe it was just like a small thing, but he's getting opinions by other people, other doctors. There's a lot probably going through his head as well. But with what John Harbaugh said today, John Harbaugh said that he doesn't think that it looks good. He said that he thinks that it's extremely serious. That's what John Harbaugh said today when they asked him about it. He's trying to kind of avoid updates and questions because I think they're just trying to take it one step at a time because, again, when it comes to neck injuries, when it comes to back injuries, when it comes to things spinal related, that is extremely serious because any wrong hit, any wrong way that it goes can really not only obviously affect your football career, but it can affect the way that you live your life for the rest of your life because of any sort of paralyzed or spinal sort of injuries like that. So they're taking it very slow with Madubuike. That's why there's not a lot of updates coming out. There's a lot of people that want to be very impatient, like, oh my God, is he going to play this week? Is he going to play that week? I'm just going to come out here and say it. Today's the 24th of September. I'm just going to come out here and say what I think is going to happen with this injury, with what we've seen, at least so far, with the news. There hasn't been a lot of positive news coming out of this. There's really been nothing positive at all about the Madubuike injury. There just hasn't been, again, a lot of updates because they're trying to take it slow. But in my opinion, and I don't know anything about the situation. I don't know how serious it is. All I know is that it's serious. I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't necessarily know stuff about like the neck and neck injuries and all that. All I know is that it is something that can be extremely dangerous when you talk about someone's life in general. This isn't just football. We're not necessarily talking about if he's going to be ready to play football because I got to make sure this guy is healthy and ready, and good to go for when he goes home with his family and everything like that. So, in my opinion, this injury looks to be very serious, and do not be surprised for anybody that's listening, for anybody that thinks that he's going to come back this year. I'm telling y'all right now, do not be surprised if he doesn't play another snap this year, and do not be surprised if we put him on the IR and we shut him down for the rest of the year, because at this point, when it comes to someone's not only football career and the future of that, but with the way that they live their life, with how serious of an injury that this is sounding to be, do not be surprised if he doesn't play the rest of the year. I understand that to some people, and maybe some reports saying that there's like a glimmer of hope that he may be able to come back at the end of the year. This is one of those injuries where they have to take it step by step, slow at a time, and you really can't think about timetable in this sense. You got to make sure that he's good and that he's going to be okay. But from what it's sounding like right now, I do not think he's going to play the rest of the season, and I think that if they announce over the next week or two, because I think they are going to take this slow. I don't think they're going to announce something tomorrow, but over the next couple of weeks, as they dictate more about this Madubuike injury, as they figure out more about it, if he is not able to play the rest of the season, which for one I would feel extremely bad, obviously not being able to play football, being out for the year because of a kind of a freak injury that you really can't control, would suck a lot for Madubuike. But if he doesn't play the rest of this year, it might be sounding like Madubuike would have to potentially retire, because we've seen stuff like this before. I mean, there's been baseball players who's had spinal injuries that's had to retire. Obviously, people kind of look at, Zach Orr, the Ravens defensive coordinator, had to go through a very similar thing like this. Ryan Shazier, who that one was a little bit different because he kind of got like paralyzed and had to get carted off the field and stuff like that. So there is instances in sports where really great players have to retire because of freak accidents that have to do with spinal or neck injuries. And obviously that's the last thing that I want. That's the last thing that I want to see is Madubuike retire, because again, not just for his football and how good he is at football, because again, he's one of the best D tackles in the NFL. He's extremely, extremely valuable to this Ravens team. There's a reason why they extended him a couple of years ago. But not only would it suck to lose him for the Ravens wise, but getting something that you love, like football, getting something like that ripped away from you at a young age that he's still in his mid to late 20s, getting something like that ripped away from you, getting the game that you love, the game that you played your entire life for, getting that ripped away from you at a young age because of a freak spinal neck injury, it sucks, and you really got to feel for him. And I do think that a part of the reason why they're not maybe coming out with reports on it is because he's trying to, have to deal with it himself and kind of mentally deal with it, because it's a lot. Like, this is a lot going on with him, and I trust that the Ravens have the guys around him that's going to help him through this, and I'm sure that they do, because this is, a high-class organization. But prayers out for Madubuike, honestly. You really don't want to see him. Obviously, you don't want to see him out for the year. You don't want to see him hurt at all. But if he does miss the rest of the year, I do think that there is a real serious chance that he does retire, which would really suck. And it would come as a complete shock randomly. This guy who is one of the staples of this defense and one of the staples of your already weak, defensive tackle core, would have to retire. And that would really suck. That would really affect the Ravens. And at this point, we're really just hoping for the best. Every single day I'm checking Twitter, checking all the reports and stuff like that to see if there's any sort of good news about Madubuike. But I'm mentioning that and bringing that up just to kind of be prepared for the moment, because, again, neck injuries and spinal injuries, it's nothing to play around with. Like, this is serious, serious stuff that can affect his life and everything. So I also don't want people to think about it just in a football stance. I don't want people to say, "Oh my God, he has a neck injury, he's going to retire." Screw him. He's going to leave our football team. It's more than that. This is an injury that's more than just about the game of football. It's about being healthy for your life and for the future and all that stuff. So prayers out to Madubuike. Hopefully he's going to be good. Hopefully we get some good reports, but it is not looking good right now. But again, anything can change with injuries, and hopefully we can get some good news ASAP. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify. Also, make sure to click the link in the bio to check out the Twitter and the Instagram. Make sure to give those a follow. On this upcoming Monday, after the Orioles season ends, the day after that, we are going to be unveiling some really cool things regarding the future of this podcast. And the whole thing of this podcast is going to change. Obviously, we're still going to talk Ravens and Orioles. That is something that is not going to change, but we do have some visual production things starting to change because, again, I care about the show. I want to bring out the best product that I possibly can, and we've got some really, really cool stuff coming up starting on Monday. We're going to start unveiling everything, so make sure to follow the Birds of a Feather Twitter. Make sure to follow the Birds of a Feather Instagram to not miss out on those updates. It's going to be very exciting. I'm very excited to show it off to you guys. But yeah, I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, again, is the last Orioles home game of the year. Hopefully, the fans will show out for that. I'm super excited to watch, obviously. And again, we'll go over the Orioles game tomorrow, and then we're also going to go over any sort of Ravens updates that we get tomorrow as well. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a great sales day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see you all later. Peace out.